Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our presentation. Today, we want to welcome all of you to the presentation. Have together with my brother Muthomi, we are presenting on the rise, development, and the fall of the civilization. As I've mentioned, we are two of us. We have brother Duncan Muthomi and I, Roy Oguta, will be doing the presentations. I will begin, then my brother Muthomi will come after that. Thank you. As you all know, in Africa, there are many civilizations, Zoom being one of them. And therefore, Africa is known for her greatest ancient civilization in many parts of the continent, as I've mentioned, such as Egyptian civilization, the Nubian civilization, Axum being one of them. We have also the Ghana civilization, Mali civilization, and the Great Zimbabwe civilization, which together had a complex political system, economic structures, and cultural achievements that were for much and that were very much organized and were even much greater than many Western countries. We also see that while there were many civilizations in Africa before the coming of Europeans, we also want you to know that Axum is our main focus of presentation in this. The Axum civilization was one of the greatest ancient African civilizations. It flourished between the 1st and 7th centuries in what is now Ethiopian and Eritrea. The current country is Ethiopia and Eritrea. That is where Axum civilization existed. Axum civilization was a major trade. Axum was a major trade empire known for its economic prosperity, military power, and early adoption of Christianity in Africa and beyond. It is also very key and essential to note that Axum played a crucial role in global trade and politics before its eventual decline. Friends, I also want to bring to your attention that the Axumite kingdom emerged around the 1st century BC in the northern Ethiopian highlands and parts of the modern Eritrea, as I've mentioned before. It developed from earlier societies, particularly the kingdom of the Domite, that is between 10th century, 10th to 5th century BC. It is important to note that there were several factors that were behind the rise of Axum civilization. And in this video, therefore, we'll mention just but a few of the factors that led to the rise of the Axum civilization. Let me mention that the Axumite kingdom emerged around the 1st century BC in the northern Eritrea. As I've mentioned that, let me say that one of the reasons why Axum civilization arose, Axum was in a strategic location. That means it was positioned near the Red Sea, where it controlled key trade routes between Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Number two, let's talk about agricultural and good economy. Axum was located in a very fertile highlands that supported agriculture with the crops like wheat, barley, that their growth was sustained, and thus the rise of population. There were good trade and commerce in Axum that existed, and that means Axum became a major trading hub, dealing in gold, ivory, spices, frankincense. There were also slaves exporting goods to Rome, India, Persia through the port of Adulis. We also see that one of the major reasons why Axum flourished, they had advanced political system. The Axum kings ruled over centralized states, strengthening military and administrative institutions. As well as Axum also had the aspect of coinage. That was around the 3rd century. Axum began minting gold, silver, and bronze coins. one of the earliest African civilizations one of the earliest African civilizations to do so, reflecting its economic strength. In fact, Axum therefore comes as the one of the civilizations in Africa that championed in the coinage. That one, Axum takes the lead. Going forward, there is what we call the gold age of Axum. That was between 3rd to 6th century. And the Axum reached its peak power between the 3rd and 6th century. Thus, it became one of the greatest empires of the ancient world. There were several notable achievements during the golden age of Axum civilization. And these several notable achievements, we can say the Axum military expansion. That means the Axumite army conquered neighboring lands, including parts of Sudan, Southern Arabia, that is Yemen, and Nubia, because it had a very strong organization in military. In the 14th century, King Azana of Axum converted to Christianity. This also made Axum one of the first Christian states in the world. This led to close relations with the Byzantine Empire, another Christian power. Axum established the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which remains influential today. Then it means by conversion of King Ezana of Axum led to the development and rise of Christianity that is felt even up to date in Ethiopia. There were monumental architecture in Axum. That means Axum built massive stone obelisks, such as the obelisks of Axum, demonstrating its advance in engineering. That led to the rise and the rise of Axum as a civilization. We also see that during the golden age of Axum, the empire experienced cultural and religious influence through the G script, one of the African oldest written languages, which eventually became the literary and religious language of Ethiopia. The Axumites therefore claim to have the Ark of the Covenant housed in the Church of St. Mary's of Zion. We also see that Axum gained its economic strength since it was positioned near the Red Sea, where it controlled key trade routes between Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Axum became a major trading hub dealing in gold, ivory, spices, as I've mentioned before. They also dealt with the slave exports. They exported goods to Rome, India, Persia through the port of Adulis. We also see that in Axum civilization, it flourished for a given period of time, and then finally it became very dormant at some point, and thus the fall of Axum in between 7th to 10th century. I'll therefore take this opportunity to welcome another presenter who will begin from the fall of Axum. Thank you so much.
The second part, that's between 7th to 10th century. And despite its achievement in terms of full military organization and agriculture and trade, we all know that Axum civilization came to thrive in 7th and 10th centuries due to several internal and external challenges. And in this part, we're going to delve into these internal and external challenges and find out which were these challenges that led to its fall. And the first point being the invasion of the Islamic expansion that happened between the 7th century and 10th century. And therefore, this rise of Islam in the Arabian Peninsula ran to the conquest of Egypt and the Red Sea trade route. The Islamic Caliphate took control of the key trade centers, cutting Axum off from its lucrative commerce. One of it was Adulis, which was Axum's main port that was lost, and by this way it weakened the economy of Axum. And the second point being the Axum experienced an environmental degradation through the overuse of land deforestation, and soil erosion, which in return greatly affected agriculture, leading to food shortages, leading also to hunger and therefore the population crisis. It is important to note that the climate may have changed, making farming more difficult over time, thus weakening the Axum civilization. Another point is the economic decline in Axum. But the loss of international trade routes led to economic stagnation, and therefore Axum's economy became isolated, relying only on local production, which in turn weakened its civilization, leading to its fall between 7th to 10th century. The rise of internal conflicts and political weakness led to rival factions and internal power struggles, which weakened its central authority, and through this, the kingdom lost control over its territories, leading to the weakening of Axum civilization. There was a rise of competing powers, example of Beja, Agag, Zawe dynasty, which rose to prominence. Thus, they also ran to diminishing Axum's power. The Zawe dynasty eventually placed the Axum as Ethiopia's dominant power by the 12th century. And on this other point, we're going to look at the legacy of Axum, whereby we see that although Axum fell from power, its influence shaped Ethiopian civilization for centuries, and therefore the legacy of this civilization is never forgotten. And there are several accounts that the legacy of Axum civilization is still felt to date in Ethiopia. And these are: the Ethiopian Orthodox Church remains a major religious institution. Another one is the Ge'ez language still exists in religious texts and liturgical practices. Another one, the third one, is the Axum's architectural wonders, including its stelae and churches, continue to attract historians and tourists. The fourth one, Ethiopia remained an independent Christian kingdom in Africa, resisting colonial influences for centuries. Yes, I think having tackled on that, we're going to just conclude. And on the conclusion part, we agree that we can't live in denial of our ancient African civilization of the Axum. For it is true to say that Axum civilization rose as a powerful trade empire, reached its peak during King Ezana's Christianization, and by that I mean between 3rd and 5th century, and ultimately declined due to Islamic expansion, the points that we have already listed above, environmental challenges and economic struggles that happened between 6th to 10th century. However, its cultural and religious legacy continues to shape modern Ethiopia. This was our presentation about Axum's civilization.